Okay, so good morning, everyone. Here we are together once more to study this wonderful book that was brought by Kardec, the Medium's book, that I have a highly appreciation, I can say that. And I would let me just make something here in regards of the sound, because it seems that some mic are open. No? Okay, sounds good.
I'm muted, Guilherme.
Okay, thank you. So here we are. We stopped last time on the item 25 in my book, page 51. We have started already, but I will start from the beginning. So like that, we have a bit of catching up and then we can go on. And let me just move here to change that. And then we're ready to go. Let us not forget a category that we shall call disbelievers out of deception. It includes those who have gone from being exaggeratedly confident to disbelief because they have suffered deceptions. Thus, being disheartened, they have abandoned and rejected everything. They are like those who deny Spiritism in good faith because they feel they have been misled. Well, I think we spoke about that last week, so I will not make any comment about that, unless if you guys want, but if not, I will continue. This is nonetheless the result of both an incomplete study of Spiritism and a lack of experience. I will stop here because this phrase has already something very important as far as I can see. Well, a lot of us, we used to say that we are Spiritists. Are we? Why am I making this question? Because to be considered as a Spiritist, we need to study. We need to study the doctrine in length. Otherwise, we will not understand the origin, where it's coming from, why we accept few things, why we do not accept few things, why we call that the doctrine from the spirits that does not belong to Kardec himself, nor anyone else. It belongs to the spirits because they brought to us. And due to the vast length of the subjects we can find in Spiritism, it is very difficult to study everything. But we have means to understand at least what they're talking about. And where is the best source of information for that? In my humble opinion, the best source of information is Kardec, because Kardec, he brought everything condensated on every single book he wrote. So I think Spiritists need to study Kardec and need to study the other authors as well, because we have Chico Xavier, for example, we have Divaldo, we have others that I would say they are complementing Kardec. So we have a lot of things to study to fully understand and appreciate the Spiritism. And he's also saying something here about lack of experience. How is that possible, lack of experience? Who? How? When? How can we acquire experience of the Spiritism? Only listening a lecture? Only reading a book? What do you think? I personally think to acquire Spiritism experience, we need to practice charity, as Kardec told us to do. We need to not only read, study, listen to lectures or things like that. We need to put hands-on. We only really learn something when we are able to reproduce, when we are able to produce something from whatever we have learned. Until that moment, we are just acquiring knowledge. But experience means use the knowledge we acquired to practice, to create something. So in the ideal world, we would have Spiritist people studying and practicing what they study. So I think that's very important. Let me even highlight that here for the future. Remind you all that this is a study and your participation is highly recommended. This is not a lecture. If you do have a question, if you do have any comment, please open your mic and share with us. If there are those who are deceived by spirits, it is usually because they ask them improper questions or ones they cannot answer, because they are not enlightened enough to distinguish truth from error. There are a couple of things here, right? Why I would be deceived by one spirit? First of all, I would say that a higher hierarchy spirit will not deceive me. I never saw that. A frivolous spirit may well do, because he's trying to have a fun with you. So that would be my first thing. And improper questions. What are improper questions? Should I play the lottery? Will my son have a good result on university? Can I buy this car? Should I travel today or tomorrow? Why am I using those questions? Because I heard them before. Do you believe a serious spirit, an enlightened spirit, he would really answer that question? What do you think? What do you guys think about that? Because you're very quiet so far.
Can I make a quick comment, Guilherme? I was laughing here on my own. Yes, it's true, but sometimes as I ask myself, I pray for the best, if you travel or not, if it's time to travel or not, and I let the intuition comes, because I ask the benefactor, please help me, help me to less my mistakes. It's a charity from them to help us to do less mistakes when we are willing to listen the inner voice. So it's something that I use a lot to pray for the best situation that I can do, especially in this kind of travel is a big one, but I'm not asking a medium to ask the spirits to say to me if it's time to go or not now, but never. But the mediums, when they are so naive, they are almost let the spirits say things to them that, of course, is mischievous, as you said, we are mischievous, the spirits, etc. And they are love behind the medium when they use the medium for questions like that. Yeah. I think perhaps it's not.
I agree with you, Elsa. And one thing came to my mind is that sometimes the medium, we even want to be asked those questions, because he felt like I'm important, you know, I'm being asked for a few things, and create a kind of chain effect, if I can call it that. A person that does not know what should ask the medium that does not identify what he should be part of, and then create a vicious circle that's not positive to anyone. And
Guilherme.
yep.
Hello, everybody. I hope everyone is okay. Just based on what you asked, you know, I had a personal experience with my sister, who was constantly trying to get guidance. She was going through a rough path in her life, and she was constantly trying to get guidance from consulting someone to know what was going to happen in the future. What is it? What is going to happen? What's going to happen? And I could see her less and less able to make decisions for herself, less and less able to kind of put her reasoning into, you know, and really looking at herself and what really she should decide to do. I think some of us and ourselves many times, we don't want to suffer. We don't want to go through pain sometimes, and we get so anxious, you know, what's going to happen, so we can avoid pain and we can avoid some suffering. But it is important to study and reflect on life, and it is something that we got to do constantly. Kardec is very great in showing us through the books, through great reasoning and his method of argumentating whatever is in there into such a depth that really helps us to analyze things when they come to us. Like, if we don't know the future, obviously the future is yet to come. There are lots of variants that depends on our decisions now. But it is important also for us not to know the future, because then we can focus in making those decisions and then develop our free will. I think that is the main observation that I would like to make.
Yeah, we have Munir want to talk to us. Hi, Munir.
Hi, Guilherme. Hi, everyone. Yes, it's interesting because this morning I was listening to a Spiritist program, and he was answering some questions. And someone asked him exactly that question: how can we be sure that we are making the right decisions in life? And then he said, first, as Elsa said, you have to ask your conscience. In your conscience, you have the answers. But ask your conscience in a state of prayer. Because when you're in the state of prayer, you are under very good influence and you put yourself in a higher level. So at that moment, you can ask your question, your conscience. And also, he said, whatever we choose in life, the path we choose, it will come with the lessons, as he's put, the difficulties, and also the rewards for, you know, the lessons that we accept and do and follow them and do what we're supposed to do. So we shouldn't be afraid of, oh, am I doing the right thing in life? Am I going the right way? Or as Liz said, you know, asking the spirits, you know, shall I go this way? Shall I go that way? I also know someone who always asked, you know, the medium, and sometimes, you know, medium that charged to ask for guidance, and what she got at the end of the day, either deceived or she lost money buying gifts and doing things that were completely, you know, in my view, unnecessary. And so the best thing is, in a state of prayer, ask our conscience, make our decisions, and then embrace it, whatever comes, because it is the lesson we've chosen. It's like choosing a book to study. I prefer this book. Okay, that book, then you have to study through that book. You have, you know, perhaps parts of it will teach you in a very clear way, but then you have the exercises to make and to show that you've learned. Some other people prefer a different approach. Okay, yes, but then embrace that approach with the whole package, whatever comes, that's your choice.
There is one thing, Munir, that came to my mind when we were talking, is that when we ask something, deep inside, let me just close the mic. There is one mic that is... Yep. So what we make questions, deep inside, we want the answer we want. Quite often, that's what we do. There are, as you said, there are people that even make a living of it. What I would say from that, we should not encourage, if we are mediums, we should not encourage anyone to ask such questions. If we are people that have that need to ask everything because we don't feel confidence in ourselves, what should we do? We should give them the information to bring peace to their heart. So instead of encouraging them to ask questions through mediums, God knows how, let's give them information. Let's feed them with the little we know, and perhaps things will get better. Hi, Saul. Saya. How you doing?
Sorry, I had to open my mic. Yeah, good to see you. Excuse me. I think another problem that people have is they don't really, they don't have the habit, of contacting their sort of higher mind, if you like, or their intuition. As Munir was saying, it's entering that space. As a therapist, my trainer says, even when he's training people, he looks upwards, he raises his eyes, and he accesses that higher state, that higher kind of, in ancient Hawaiian, it's called the learning state. So that's when you access your higher mind, your more creative aspect. And I think, with your intuition, people, maybe they don't have, they don't know how to do it. They might know how to meditate, but their mind is still very busy. So it's really having that as a habit that you do regularly. So like joining these groups is a really, really good way to do it, because actually you have the ambient is much stronger. So in a mediumship group or, a study group, that's a great time if you have that little question. What do I do, in my work, or what do I do here? Try asking it then, because you'll be much more relaxed. And, having little ways as well, if you really need to make a quick decision, how can you do it? And people have many different ways depending on, the way they are. Like with me, I just ask my fingers, and I just say yes, no. And then I swap it around just to make sure it wasn't an itchy finger. And that works for me, but I can do it very quickly. I enter that learning state and I say, God, please give me the true intuition, this way, that way, if I really need to make a very quick decision. And that works for me. But then if it's a long-term decision about work or something, you may need to ask again, but then you need that like Munir was saying, you need to enter that, the meditation, that kind of prayer state.
Very good. Thank you, Saul. So let's move on a little bit. Also, many people only see Spiritism as a new form of divinization and think that spirits exist for the purpose of fortune telling. What I would say, if mediumship is related to money, is related to any kind of benefit for the medium, maybe promotion or whatever, I wouldn't go for it. I respect who want to, but I personally wouldn't go for it. Because Kardec tells us very clearly that we should give for free what we receive for free. If anything else is different than that, is already something that I feel uncomfortable with. On top of that, even if I'm going to a medium that does not ask me for anything, that's no interest whatsoever, I also need to know, is this medium really prepared? Does he have enough knowledge to understand what he or she is doing? The consequences of it. I don't remember if I've spoken here already about it, but in the past, we were in our Spiritist center when one person came, she was in need of help, and a very young medium came to her and said, "Oh my God, you have a very dark spirit following you. It seems that he's very unhappy with you." What can we take from that? Lack of a study, lack of experience, lack of charity. And the person was really taking on her own shoulders a lot of responsibility, because anything that is pronounced by a medium may have an impact. And everything we do and say, we are also responsible for it. So we need to be very careful. We need to be familiar with the spirits we are working with. We need to be able to identify, and that only comes with time and experience, practice, if this spirit really is what he's saying he is, if he's there to produce good things, or if he's there to produce things that are not that good. So we need to always be careful with what we do and how we do. So that's just a thought on top of everything that had been said, you know, and that thing that, oh, I need to ask, I don't know, I will ask. Eventually, depending on situations, because every case is a different case, is one thing. But create a routine, no. Hi, Munir.
Hi, Guilherme. Yeah, I think it's important to make a distinction between working with the spirits, as you said, being familiar with the group of spirits, because we are working together, and then we ask for, I would say, not advice, but some guidance. It's different from asking trivial, personal things. Oh, shall I buy their house? Shall I not? Shall I travel to that country? Shall I not? Shall I, spend some money in lottery? This kind of things, trivial things. The spirits are not here to talk about material things, but they are here to help us in the spiritual enlightenment, especially if there are many people involved and people who can benefit from the work that we are doing. And I see this, differently. When we as a group grow familiarized with a group of spirits who are working with us, and then our doubts are regarding the work that we are doing, and not exactly, if I'm going to be successful in this, successful in that.
I remember one event where one person came to ask the spirits during the consultation something in regards to her family. And the answer from the spirit was, well, I don't know what to answer you. I'm not an advocate. I would recommend you to contact an advocate on earth, that you can have the proper support. What does it mean? That he's not there to take care of material things or financial things or things that they're really not important in the big picture. So we need to know first, we need to learn first what to ask, when to ask, and where to ask. Otherwise, we may be starting a long process that sometimes not easy to fix, because spirits that are not very serious will try to get around you, they will remain with you, they will try to have fun with you, and sometimes that's not a nice thing to try.
Yes, I think we can always sort of evaluate the type of question we make if we ask ourselves, what I'm asking, would it be important if I died today? I mean, would this question make meaning if I died today? They say, well, I was asking about buying this house. If I died today, I wouldn't be able to buy the house. And so, you know, there's no purpose in asking the spirit for to answer that question. But if I say, how can I improve morally? How can I? Then you say, yeah, you can carry on in the spirit world. Okay, so it is of spirit's concern, that kind of question.
Very good. In fact, frivolous and mocking spirits do not waste the opportunity to entertain themselves at this individual's expense. Thus, they promise girls that they will find marriage and assure the ambitious that they will receive honors, inheritance, and hidden treasures, and so on and so forth. The results, the frequent and unpleasant deceptions that serious and prudent persons always know how to avoid. So basically, he's telling us here that we have to use the same common sense as we use amongst incarnated beings. Because depending on what we ask to our friend next door, the answer may be what we deserve. So we need to be extra careful. Item 26. The most numerous of all classes, but which cannot be included among the class of opponents, consist of hesitant individuals who are usually spiritualists out of principle. Most of them have a vague intuition about spiritual ideas, and they aspire towards something that they are not quite able to define. They only need to coordinate and formulate their thoughts. Spiritism appears to them like a ray of light, the clarity that dissipates the fog. Consequently, they avidly embrace it, for it set them free from the anguish of uncertainty. So far, I think everyone that I met that really wanted to get acquainted to the knowledge brought by the Spiritism, on the end, they decide to stay. Because it's so, how can I say, is reason after reason, is logic after logic. But I'm talking about people that wanted to, not someone that was just trying to go by, no, people that wanted to. Someone that's really willing to, very unlikely will not find the information he's looking for in the Spiritism. If we now take a look at the various categories of believers, we will first discover those who are Spiritists without realizing it. And there is some. Properly speaking, these are the variety of nuances of the preceding class. Even though they have never heard of the Spiritist doctrine per se, they have an innate sentiment about the grand principles that result from it. And the sentiment is reflected in certain passages of the writing and discourses to the extent that if you listen to them, you would believe that they were true initiated. Many examples of these individuals can be found among sacred and secular writers alike, and amongst poets, orators, moralists, and ancient and modern philosophers. And this is true. From time to time, we identify this speech like, oh, sounds like Spiritism. And when we try to see the source, they never been in contact with the Spiritism. Hi, Elsa.
Just share a quick comment here. 2 years ago, we have someone, a lady, Brazilian lady, that was married Italian man, and she didn't know nothing about Spiritism. And she came ask help because her husband was doing things that perhaps could be Spiritism. When the husband described what was going on with him, of course, I said, everything that you are describing are saying to me, we studied in the Medium's book, in Spiritism. Oh, I never heard about that. I never heard about that. So they came 3 or 4 times, but they decided not to follow Spiritism because he was truly a Catholic person. But at the end of the time, we found, as I said before, Spiritist teachings is in the world, and since the world is human beings, because mediumship is here, no, since the beginning, and people that they never met Spiritism or a Spiritist person, when they decided describing, is a truly studies that we do, and Spiritism, Kardec only codified and organized for us, not something that the church says that you are witches or other things and then hung people, etc. But it is something very natural. But we should, of course, prepare ourselves as the doctor prepared themselves to do operation, a surgery. No? That's it.
I truly believe that one day we will not have Catholicism, Spiritism, any other creed you may like. We all will share the same knowledge. We all will share the same belief. And what is that belief? Is love. What Jesus brought to us was love. Jesus never brought to us Catholicism, Spiritism, anything. No, he brought love. And eventually we all achieve the same understanding and we will return to that principle. I also do not believe that kind of knowledge have only been shared with the people that call themselves Spiritists. Slowly, other creeds also start to have access to the same type of information. I saw a priest during his speech talking about things we talk here every day. He was in the church. I was there. I said, well, things are really changing, because he was talking about, he was not using the words spirit and things like that, but he was talking about the same thing. So I believe as we evolve as human beings, as spirits, the knowledge that we possess today will be also with the others, if they are not there already, and they are slowly trying to understand and put that to practice. Yeah, very good. Item 28. Among those who have become convinced by directly studying this subject, we may distinguish 1. Those who believe purely and simply in the manifestations, who consider Spiritism to be a simple science of observation that demonstrate a series or more or less curious phenomena. We call them experimental Spiritists. Nowadays, I see that the knowledge, the philosophy of Spiritism has been spread out, and possibly before you even have a contact with the phenomena, you will have a contact with the philosophy. But at the time when Kardec brought the book to us, possibly not, because they used to have sciences at private houses, private institutions, just for the phenomena, right? So that's bringing a little bit of context to what he said here. Those, number 2, those who see spirits more than just the phenomena, who understand the Spiritism's philosophical aspect. They believe in the morality that results from it, but they fail to practice it. And the doctrine actual influence upon them, upon their character, is thus insignificant or none at all. Let me stop here. Good, Mark. First thing, morality. What is morality to start with? My concept of morality may be different than yours. What I consider as a moral, you may think different. So, to clear that doubt from my mind, I refer to moral to what Jesus brought to us. If I say that, I cannot make a mistake, because everything that he did is the best example we had about morality. So if any moment in time you find yourselves in doubt about what is moral, what is not, what's moral from A or moral from B, always refer to Jesus' morality, to Jesus' moral, and then we are in a safe place. But one thing that got my true attention here is that they failed to practice, like we all do. We all do. We are eager to get acquainted to the Spiritism. We are eager to get the knowledge of the Spiritism. We are eager to know by heart the name of each phenomena we may find on the Spiritism. But do we practice it? When I mean practice, do we practice it with charity? That's the key. That's the key. We have to practice, otherwise we're just getting knowledge and that will not drive us to the evolution, I guess. They do not change their habits, nor would they deprive themselves of a single pleasure. Should I say anything here? Well, how many people only leave the Spiritism as a second or third obligation during the day? How many people missed mediumship meetings because they had birthdays to go, because they had a football match on TV that they could not miss because that was my team? How many people missed the commitment, not with the Spiritist Center, not with the indoctrinator, missed the commitment they made before they even incarnated for something that's not really that important? So he's saying here that for this category here, Spiritism is not priority. Act with the mediumship to practice charity is not priority. Every time I'm a medium, I decide not to attend the mediumship meeting, we need to understand the whole mechanism that was prepared to us to be there. Needless to say that the spirits that in theory supposed to communicate in that meeting, quite often they are around you for at least 24 hours before that meeting, sometimes even longer. And when they cannot communicate, sometimes they are not very happy. Understandable, isn't it? You are waiting for 2 days to talk. You are in the queue in the bank, waiting for half an hour to withdraw your money. And when you are in your time, the bank teller will tell you, sorry, we are closed. You have to come back another time, not today. What will we do? Will we be saying yes, thank you, with a nice smile, or will we be unhappy with the bank teller? So we need to be careful, because I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but I'm talking about the amount of time I saw that happening in the Spiritist Center for years. So if we want to work with the mediumship in a serious way, and what we call mediums with Jesus, we need to consider how important it is in our lives and what is really the priority. I saw people in the past, they had the birthday of the kids, the very same day of the meeting. They went to the meeting. After the meeting was over, then they returned home for the party. There's no problem with that. But I saw people that said, well, sorry, I cannot go because, you know, it's a long weekend. And we do have things in our lives that we really cannot miss, like hospitals, people sick, things like that. When we are working, for example, that's a different thing. But there are things we should reconsider in the hierarchy of importance when we decide to be mediums. And what I'm saying here sometimes do not please everyone, but that is the way I see. If we are committed to the cause, if I can say like that, we really are. We will do everything to be there. If we are not, I will be there when I don't have anything else to do. It's up to each one of us to decide what we want to be. But remember, spirits, elevated spirits, they will know which one they can rely, which one they can work with, because they know us. They are around to us. I have a hand raised. Rosalie. Hi, Rosalie.
Hi. Because we talk about this being a medium, study or practices, I have maybe a simple question, but I think a lot about that. You know, I hear what people say to me. I'll ask, I'll comment. When a spiritist, for example, is an ostensive medium, and he's knowing that studied the doctrine, know what is important is to use his mediumship, but they say, no, I don't want to work as a medium. I can study, understand, but I can do something else. It is the same when you have this, when you came here with this kind of contract, help to yourself to be a medium, and you don't want to be, understand what it is, and then you do something else, like work in a spiritist house, of course, in a different approaches. How you see that, all our friends? And hi, everybody.
Rosalie, when we are about to incarnate, when our reincarnatory plan have been defined, we sign a contract. As every contract we sign, there are the small letters that we all decide not to read because we don't want to bother to read those small letters, right? Mm-hmm. But we committed ourselves to do something. And when we are ostensive mediums, we committed ourselves to be ostensive mediums. We promise wonders before we came. I will be the next Chico Xavier. But then when I arrive here, I decide not to, because I'm afraid, because it's too much commitment, too much harsh. I cannot drink, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. No, that's not for me. There are things in earth that are more important to me than letting go to be a medium. It's your right to do it. But as every contract we sign, we have not penalty, but we have repercussions. We have the consequences. I do not see a medium, an ostensive medium, compensate that doing anything else rather than use his or her mediumship to do what he's supposed to do. Mediumship is the best way to practice charity. Quite often,
Yes.
the spirits that are coming through us, they need help, right? And quite often, we are the ones who cause the misfortune as well. It's a way we have to repair what we did. It's a way we have to evolve. Decide not to do is entirely your problem, for example. I would not encourage that at all. I would not.
Yeah, I try to talk exactly the same way with the persons I know. It's not the only one. I've been experienced a couple, many actually. But in the end, they keep on saying no, and doing help in the Spiritist house is not bad. They are very sweet and very nice people. We have actually good friendship, but they say no for work, they mediumship. And I can see they got a problem, of course, because it's always come to my hands. But I think it's very difficult to also talk to them about that. It feels like sometimes they think, you say that because you want to weaken me and study with you, for example. And I don't want that. I study a lot. But they ask me, or they ask for my advice. Oh, yes, it's now for me, it's quite difficult to talk to anybody about, because almost everybody say the same. Yeah. I prefer do this or this or this, but I do not gonna work even if I know this and this, being studied, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, do you have some other advice I could use, for example?
Well,
outside that beautiful advice you already gave it.
Yeah, I respect everyone's decision. I may speak once, and that's it. I will not try to convince anyone about anything. Not even Kardec did that. So who am I to try? People, they are mediums and they decide not to commit themselves to mediumship. In my view, quick thinking, there are two main reasons for that. Fear. They may say they don't have fear, but they do sometimes.
Yeah, some they are very much scared, I know. Yeah.
Fear. And they do not want to let it go things that they know they should let it go to be mediums. Unbalanced sex, alcohol, drugs, games, you name it. It's more important to them to keep tied to those things than to let it go and embrace mediumship. And I have an X amount of numbers of people that only after they really suffer, really suffer, they decide to embrace mediumship. Some of them end up in psychiatric institutions before they even contemplate practice the mediumship. But on the end of the day, especially if they are inside the Spiritist institution, they know everything already, so it's up to them. And now I have 3 hands raised. I don't know who did first, so I'll see the first one here on my screen. Your mic is mute.
Sorry. Thank you very much for your answer, and then go on with the others. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's the first one? I don't know who was there. Jasmine, you want to go?
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, good morning. I had just a quick question about what do you mean by ostensible mediumship? Because I'm just to clarify to be sure I understood the same thing, please.
Ostensive mediums. You can find that written in French, in Kardec's book, and in Portuguese. In English, the word is a bit, as I had a conversation with Munir before, does not exemplify clearly what it means. But ostensive mediums are mediums that listen to the spirits, can hear the spirits, ride the spirits. Mediums that are, the mediumship are more pronouncing than others. We all are mediums to a certain extent, but those that have more sensibility, we call them ostensive mediums. Does it help?
Yes, and I have another question. Thank you very much. What if a person has a lot of different mediumships? For example, this person can sometimes write, but she doesn't notice, and sometimes she can do some upas, but it just like by praying, or sometimes she can hear it. This person can hear, or well, a lot of things. And what should this person do? I mean, for example, as who was the last person who was talking? Like Rosalie said, and I mean, no. Well, sorry.
Over the years, I met mediums that they practice their mediumship without being spiritists. Mediumship may happen everywhere. The most important is to use your abilities the best you can to help people. If you're doing that, you're already fulfilling your duties. But if you know you have that and you decide not to, yours is your responsibility. So I strongly advise mediums to work with their mediumship, not to be afraid of, and to learn how to use it to the best of his or her abilities. Good. I have another hand raised. Go on. And then after is Faye. I cannot see your name here. You want to open your mic?
Jack, is Jack.
I'm
Jack.
sorry, is it me?
I cannot see you, Jack.
Sorry. I think you might have answered my question. You mentioned about I'm not trying to paraphrase, sorry. So working with your mediumship and educating it and studying and putting into practice and not running from your responsibilities, basically. And I was going to ask, okay, clarify, because, for example, I'm part of a Spiritist group, but I'm not part of the mediumship work that is carried out. Sorry, that's my bad. But you've clarified by specifying studying and improving and working, studying mediumship and also doing charity and doing good. But I just wanted more clarification, basically, because I'm guessing it's not a straightforward journey for everybody, what we should be doing to make sure that we are working as we've signed a dotted line before coming in this incarnation.
Jack, from what you said, I intend to believe that the institution you are connected to, the Spirit Center you are connected to, does not create opportunities to everyone to develop their mediumship. Perhaps I'm wrong, but that's what I got. And I saw that over the years. Why they don't do that? Same reasons. Sometimes people that can make the decisions, the right decisions on the institution, they are afraid about committing themselves into an activity that is very serious. A mediumship meeting is very serious. So then I prefer to be a study group instead of be a mediumship meeting. Like, it's easier. But the way I see, every Spiritist center should have mediumship meetings, should open opportunity to new mediums to come, to learn, to practice. Because it's very nice to give a study. It's very nice to tell you what to do, but I don't give you the opportunity to do. So then I'm also having a responsibility when I do that. The institution I'm connected in Brazil, we have 4 meetings per week, different mediums. And sometimes we have even more when we have to. Why is that? We tell everyone what to do, we teach you how to do, we give you studies, we give courses, whatever. Now, you're very good, figure out by yourself what to do with that. That's not right. We should give the opportunity to people to try. And here in UK, we are doing exactly the same as well. We have 2 meetings already. We are giving opportunity to people, right? So it's down to the institution. If the institution, if you know that you are an ostensive medium, that need to work your mediumship, and that institution does not give you that opportunity, I'm sure there are others that will. So I'm not trying to, I don't know from which institution you are. I don't know what they do, how they do, but that's my take of what you said to me.
I appreciate that. And I think also we have come a long way with technology. I live in London and I'm part of an institution that is not in London, but I'm able to do that because we've got Zoom, we've got various different things. And I have a feeling we're still learning how to deal with the
just to give you an idea, we are about to close our study, and in 15 minutes time, we will start a mediumship meeting online. So things are possible if we decide to do, right? So now I have Faye patiently waiting for the opportunity to talk to me. Hi, Faye.
Hello. Hi. I don't know if I'm being redundant, but listening to everything that you've been saying and listening to a lot of information that's been going on, especially on the internet, I see that fear is one of the main elements to hold people back from engaging and committing to a more frequent mediumship work. And the question would be, right, what would you suggest? Because even last night, there was another program about the dangers of mediumship, you know, all based on documentation, all based on official, on books that we all know. But it's just the way information is picked from the different information and books and put together as an element that will deter people from even wanting to give a step forward. So I believe it would be a reasonable question to say, well, there's so much about the fears and the dangers, you know, the dangers that a Spiritist center could do, the dangers that the contact could do. But this is one way of seeing it. It's one way of reinforcing it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
what would you say to people who want to do it, but are bombarded with this sort of information?
I love this question, but this is will be a very long answer. So what I would propose, I'll propose to everyone here to send the questions or fears into our WhatsApp group. So we will address one by one next week. But I won't leave you hanging until there, Faye. I want to give you a short answer.
Thank you.
You need to know who you are asking for help. You need to know which institution you are linked to. You need to know who is the indoctrinator of that meeting. You need to know who are the other